Hello, and welcome to another edition of Supporting School Leaders. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about now that you've gotten the interview, you've accepted the position, you've negotiated the salary, now you have to start, and now you're in your first year. So, what do you do first? Well, here are 7 things to do as a new school leader coming into a position in a new school setting. Very difficult for most people, being thrown to the wolves right away. But the first thing to do is really make sure that you document the institutional knowledge. So, for example, you might be replacing someone who's leaving. Make sure that you take the necessary steps to interview that person. Start a little earlier if you can. Maybe you start sometime a few weeks before school starts. Ask if you can start during the summer, and then you'll have time for that person you're replacing before they leave to their new position. Then really you want to go around and interview everyone else who will be reporting to you. And you want to ask them what it is they do in the organization. But don't just say, what is it you do here at the organization? But interview them, show an interest in what they do. Ask yourself, if they left tomorrow and I had to step in and do their position, how would it be done? How would I do it? So keep that in mind as you're going around making the rounds. The second step I recommend is really to have a certain style. So number 2 is develop your style and try to be personal but also formal at the same time. So don't get involved in the office politics. Don't share too much personal information. When the holidays roll around, you can send a family Christmas card. But if everyone's used to being at the water cooler, they're going to take their cue from you about how much you share and keeping that professional line between your personal life and your work life. Now, once you've been there 2 years, you're going to spend all day just complaining about your kids, your students, your workload, your board members, whatever. But for the short term, try to be really the person that everyone around you can observe. And setting your personal style is very important. Now, don't fall into the trap of being a servant leader. You don't want everyone to be nailing you to a cross at the end of your first year. So be authoritative, easily approachable, and also be someone who's centered on the organization, not centered on themselves. Number 3 might seem unusual, but having a dress code is very important for yourself. Now, 2 pieces of advice about having a dress code. One is you have your own certain style, your own wardrobe. You can't be buying new clothes when you start a new position. On the other hand, you have to look at what everyone else is wearing to fit in and be part of the culture of your school. You could dress one step up, a little bit nicer, sort of elevate everyone and say, I'm dressing formally, I'm ready for business. At the same time, if everyone else is super casual and just wears school spirit gear, and you show up and you've got your suit and tie and tuxedo bow tie or high heels, whatever it may be, you're going to say that I'm not part of the culture. So look around, observe, and take it up just a slight notch. Now, if you were superintendent in New York, you might have your own suits made. People might say, oh, that person's doing very well. He demands authority because he's having his suits tailor-made. If you're in San Francisco, it might be different. The higher up you are in a company, the more informal you are. So the people who are starting off at the bank, at the teller's window, might have the suit and tie. By the time you see the bank president, he might have his golf polo shirt on and sweatpants. So it's really up to your local culture. When I was working up in the mountains, I noticed that everyone at a high elevation by a ski lodge was always wearing a hat. Everyone had a knit hat, and I couldn't understand, isn't this a workplace? Why are people wearing hats? Until December rolled around, and they wore hats because it was cold. So get to know the culture, the temperature, the settings, the weather, and dress appropriately. Be a part of the culture. You can always introduce a new part, a new set of school spirit wear down the road. but don't show up in your sweats and school t-shirt if everyone else is dressed. Also, you never know if there's going to be an emergency, if you need to communicate with other outside officials, and you have to be prepared to stand in front of a television camera, stand in front of the press, reporters, parents, and have that look of authority. Number 4 is really to find collaborative partners. And this is a very big part of being a school leader. It's a lonely profession. So when you get to the top of your organization, you are the only one there. And you need to look around for your peer group and find out who you can collaborate with, not just commiserate with, but also to get inspired, to run some trial ideas by, even asking how they handle certain issues around employee contracts or budgets or dealing with board members. Give your friends some hypothetical situations. Say, how would you handle this at your site? So you want to find those folks, and they're easy to find because they're all looking for friends. So go to your administrative association meeting, go to your district level peer group, go outside your district, find maybe in your state organizations an online group that you can connect with and share some of your war stories, and go out for a wine and wine, as they say. Next, number 5 is, once you've begun, look for some of the warning signs that can spell trouble for you in your new role. Number 1, look of those power plays that you have to look for is someone who's used to having authority or used to thriving in some kind of system of dysfunction. And sometimes when things aren't going well, it's because people rely on it to be that way, because it gives certain people power in those situations. It's a whole nother topic. But look for those power plays and see how you can diffuse those before they come about. Or gather up your strength and see if you can push back on a good power play. Probably not a good idea early on. Also, another thing to look for is lack of transparency. If you're asking people what they do, and they're reluctant to tell you, they're reluctant to explain their job, they don't really want to stand up to scrutiny, maybe there's something they're hiding. Remember that you are the new leader and you are ultimately accountable for everything everyone else is doing. So hold others accountable, because you are the one who will take the fall. So if someone's resisting really explaining their job, showing you the files, the records, the reports, what they've done, opening up their hard drive, looking at their files, maybe you've got a problem on your hands you need to fix. So look for that transparency issue. And another of the pitfalls to look out for is the email trap. Now, everyone can spend all day sitting at their computer when they're new. I don't know what to do. Gosh, people don't know me. They're not expecting me. No one's looking for me. And so you just wait for the first emails to come and respond to those. That is the worst trap you can fall into. And especially, you don't want to be known as the new school leader who returns everyone's email right away or everyone's text right away. Because before you know it, on Saturday evening, you're going to be getting a text from that nervous teacher, that nervous employee who's wondering why you bothered to eat your dinner before responding to them right away. So set some guidelines, put those in place early. Maybe you want to be on your email at the end of the day for 20 minutes. Maybe you have an assistant who checks your email and you're not on it at all. So don't fall into that email trap. That's a warning sign if you're spending more time in your office and at your computer than in other parts of your organization. The other trap to fall into is to realize that after about 10 months of being on the job, all of the problems of the organization are your problems. So in step 5, looking for the warning signs, my last piece of advice is that you are the problem. So just be aware that the more you take steps to change things, the longer you're there, the more you hold others accountable, the more you're following that saying, there's one finger pointing at everyone else, the other 3 fingers are pointing at you. You have to be accountable for the long term. And anything that's happened going into year 2 is going to be as a result of a decision that you've made. Number 6 is really get into classrooms right away. So 2 main reasons. One, you're an educational leader and you have to look at student achievement, student improvement, student quality, teaching quality. But secondly, you also have to realize that a balance of your time needs to be in the classroom. Let people know that you care about what's happening. Let people know that you see the full spectrum of the teaching staff. You don't just see them in the office when they're turning in their forms late or typing their grades wrong or whatever else, not checking their email. But what you do see is someone who inspires students, and you need to see the totality of the people that work for you. Number 7, as a new school leader, you want to give other people your good habits and probably hide your bad ones. Everybody knows that President Obama smoked when he was in the White House. Is there a picture anywhere of President Obama standing in front of the White House smoking a cigarette? No, not until he got out of office and was kicked out of Disneyland because he was no longer president when he pulled out a cigarette. So keep your bad habits to yourself. They're not a part of your organization. They don't belong as part of the story of your leadership in a public setting. But your good habits are very important to bring to the organization. So have integrity. Keep your word. If you say you're going to be somewhere, always be on time. Start meetings on time. Don't waste anybody's time. So cultivate those good habits that you can bring to the organization, and those will filter out. I won't say filter down because everyone's a vital part of the organization. They will filter out, and if you are the center of starting meetings on time, others will do the same. So enjoy those 7 things. Let me recap them one more time. Institutional knowledge, gather it up. Find personal but formal boundaries with your coworkers. Think about how you're going to dress and present yourself as a part of the local community. Find collaborative peers that you can talk to. Look for the warning signs that your organization's in trouble through the actions of others. Get into classrooms and make sure you see your organization, your school, from the eyes of the students. And lastly, give away your good habits and hide your bad ones. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure presenting this to you. And look at the channel to subscribe for future videos in supporting school leaders.